This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to And They're Off on this Sunday morning. I'm Seth Merrill, sitting with Anthony Mormino. Good morning, Anthony.
Winter out there.
It is winter, unfortunately.
Boy, it was good to see Santa Anita and Tampa Bay so bright, shiny, and pink, but boy, we have at least one more harsh, temperature-wise, we should let people know because we don't have any precipitation, but temperature-wise.
Tuesday. They're
we're having snow on Tuesday?
One of the worst storms of the season, they said.
Oh, well, we only had one storm this season, so
yeah,
it's not going to have much competition. All right.
So we live vicariously watching Tampa
beautiful.
and Southern California
Sunshine.
and whatnot, and we can live vicariously for the next few minutes as well. As Jenny Reese was out in Las Vegas for the Horsemen's Benevolent and Protective Association HBPA convention this past week. She was covering it. I thought we'd get a little recap on that event. Good morning, Jenny.
Good morning, and from frigid Vegas, where it's only 61 degrees right now.
You're killing us.
Yeah, but it's 6 a.m. I mean, 7 a.m. I mean, it'll probably warm up, Jenny, a little bit. Being in Vegas around tournament time, March is actually pretty nice in Las Vegas.
Talked to
It's
Dick
only
Powell.
85 today.
Talked to Dick Powell a while ago, and he said 80s when he was out there
Sweet.
earlier this week on one of the panels, and we'll hit on some of that. Before we get on specifics, just give us a little overview. I know in the past they've had a couple of events during the year, the HBPA. This year they're consolidating it to the one. Just talk a little bit about, was it well attended this week?
Yeah, they had, I think they told me they had 25 or 32 affiliates from the United States and Canada were represented, and that didn't include the Colorado affiliate got not snowed in, but winded in. They weren't letting any flights take off, so they had to cancel. But, yeah, they thought that by consolidating to one, it would make it easier for more affiliates to come, and it would just sort of concentrate attendance, and they were happy with how it turned out. It was a real interesting, informative event, and you mentioned Dick Powell. He was on a real interesting panel about ADWs and the future and what it means for horse racing and how you adjust to that. Brought up a lot of the questions, still working on the answers.
Yes.
Yeah, and his panel seemed to kind of plug into what, to me, reading your recaps, was maybe an overarching theme of the horsemen having to look for cooperation with the other entities to move the game forward as we're getting more competition now as we have over the past 10 or 20 years in the gambling market and also with technology now. But it seemed like a lot of the panels were pushing cooperation with the tracks, cooperation with the ADWs. Would you think that was, as I say, a little bit of an overarching theme?
Yeah, in fact, if you had asked me what's the overarching theme, I would have said exactly that: cooperation with the racetrack, cooperation with the regulators, cooperation with the ADWs, and conversely, them cooperating with the horsemen who still do put on the show. But you're absolutely right. It seems like such a simple thing, as you know how fragmented the industry can be. But some excellent panels on that. Corey Johnson, who is a keynote speaker, the president of Kentucky Downs, which has become a real leader in the industry. And I don't just say that because they're one of my employers, but also, and he's also chairman of the Kentucky Equine Education Project, which preaches cooperation among all the racing breeds, not just the racing breeds, the horse breeds.
Yes.
And it's amazing the things you can do together. And like Corey said in his speech, he said, I think it was actually maybe a follow-up panel that he was on, but that if people work together, there's no stopping them. And there's still, like Dick's ADW panel said, what percentage of people are betting on the phone now? And it is something that has to be embraced. You've got to embrace it because it's not changing. So embrace it, try to work on it on your terms, but definitely the cooperation and the innovative ways that horsemen can work with racetracks and racetracks can work with horsemen for the good of all.
And as I said, I was talking with Dick Powell. He was on with us earlier because he was doing some handicapping on Gulfstream. But I mentioned, reading your recap, and he and I had kind of the same feeling of, after you heard it, it was kind of obvious, but you quoted Michelle Fisher the other day saying, technology is moving, we have to embrace it. And she said, it's not going to be too long before you'll just sit back on your couch and say, "Hey Siri, hey Alexa, I want to play $5 double on." I thought that was, as I say, once you heard it, you thought, "Oh yeah, of course that's the way it's going to go."
That's right. Now I did have to look up and see who's the other one that's the Amazon person was.
Echo?
When she said Siri, yeah, exactly. And but so too, and then there was also the executive director of the Louisiana HBTA made a great point too. He said, "I'm not going to make the ADWs say that they are the boogeyman or the enemy." He said they are our customer service now. I thought that was an excellent point. That if you've got ADWs that don't have good customer service, they're the front line for a lot of people. They're going to be with horse racing. So, work with them and embrace them, because you want them, their customers, to have a good experience, because they're also your customers. I thought that was an excellent point.
Jenny, we've probably followed the game about the same amount of time. Have you ever known this industry to be cutting edge? We can't even time races well.
Well, no, you're exactly right. You got to get your cutting edge where you can find it. But I am encouraged, and I think the National HBPA, under the leadership of Eric Hamelbeck as the CEO and Leroy Gessman, who is the current president, they're working towards cutting edge, and more of these HBPAs, I think, are embracing technology. It is so, because horsemen, and I'm married to one of them, old school horsemen. They just worry about training horses and stuff. That's one thing I'm hoping that maybe I can help with, as I've talked to Seth before about reinventing myself on the communications end. Maybe I can help bring them and show that we can be on social media and you can do things and you can work with fan education, working together. I'm a big believer one-on-one contact, and that can take a lot of different forms. But that's how you create new fans.
Jenny, is one of their fears that horse racing fans are probably tend to list as older, and cutting edge seems to attract younger with technology, that they're going to go to a black hole, they're going to chase away the fans that we have today and not reach, as you leap over, that you're not going to land on the other side and get the young people? I mean, is there that legitimate fear that they're chasing a ghost almost?
Well, I think it's a legitimate fear, but I don't think it has to be an absolute fear. I think that you can chase multiple audiences, and racing needs to chase multiple audiences. And let's face it, with the tech, maybe that is the way to get new fans. One of the presentations was BetMix, which, to be honest, I wasn't familiar with, the handicapping thing that is going after, among other things, they said, because it's so tech-oriented and talking about trying to beat takeout, that for a lot of people, the takeout makes it a bad gambling product. Horse racing, which is probably what an average blended takeout of over 22%. But you can get a lot of people in the financial world that want to get the plays and stuff, and think that with certain information you can get that edge that makes it worth trying to bet the takeout. And I think the same thing is so going for day traders and things like that.
Yes.
But also with a younger one. But if you find out how to get that younger audience, please let me know. We did a collaboration with the Kentucky HBK with Turfway Park for handicapping. We call it Happy Hour Handicapping. Very well attended, but I'm still trying to get those 20-year-olds. And the Kentucky HBK is working with the University of Louisville on a new website. I'm really hoping to get their senior marketing group working with us, because that's what I'm trying to find. How do we get there's some prominent 20-somethings in the game, a bunch of them being jockeys. But, you've got Andre Stock, who is Larry Jones's assistant trainer. You've got, somebody like Norman Cassidy, who's just very early 30s. We need to find ways to get them to tell us, how do we get not just you love and are passionate about this game, how do we get all of your peers as passionate about the game as you are? I'm still working on that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jenny, if you find a way to get 20-year-olds interested in the game, you won't need to reinvent yourself a second time. You'll be flush at that point. And I always say this, that Jenny, in my other life, I have the opportunity to work with many younger and typical average Americans who live in the Saratoga market. And Jenny, I cannot tell you how many times all of them, when I tell them I work Sunday morning and what I do, their first reaction to me is, there's racing year round? They live in the greater Saratoga, New York.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
Well,
they-
you know what?
Go
Yeah.
ahead. And I'm just shocked. I'm like, we run
Yeah.
every day but Christmas in this industry. And you should know, I know you've been here, how much outstanding coverage, I know, obviously,
know,
Capital, that we
yeah.
do, but it is literally like a faucet. And I'm telling you, these young people they have good jobs. They are very sharp on their phones. Matter of fact, I had to tell them to put them away. They're on them too much at the wrong time. And they are not aware. They look at me like, oh, you want to go outside? No, I have a show at 9 o'clock in the morning picking horses. They're like, there's horse racing? I go, every day but Christmas.
Yeah,
And-
isn't that? Well, now I'm a little bit depressed, but I'll just share this with you. So when we were promoting the happy hour handicapping, I went out like 2 weeks earlier, I think it was. Where they have it's dollar night at Turfway, and
Okay.
they had it's called Naked Karate Girls, a real popular band. And so I
I'm
met this
sure.
young couple from and it's guys. But anyways, so this couple from not far from suburban northern Kentucky there came for the band. And I was talking to them because they looked like the demographic we wanted. I was taking some pictures to tweet out. And they said, is there a horse race tonight? I said, well, in like 6 minutes. And this wasn't before the first race. I guess they just come and were sitting right there for the band. And after that, 28 minutes later, there's going to be another race. So, yes, we've got our work cut out for us.
Yes.
And maybe, through the horse, we know that betting horses is what makes the merry-go-round.
Yes.
But maybe you can get some people in through the horse. Just look at every time you tweet a picture of a horse and how many times it gets retweeted.
I've never been to it, but I have to say when we've talked about on this show the next, I think it's that college night they have at church when they have racing at Churchill
yeah.
Downs at night, and I guess they get like 28,000 or even maybe more than that. That seems like a great place to start. And I know obviously Louisville has a little edge, but I was like, that's a great idea.
How do you get them back on a Thursday?
Yes.
though. That's the whole. That's
Absolutely.
The key, and that's like I said. If I can figure that out, I won't have to reinvent myself.
No, you won't. That'll be it.
And clearly that's why these kind of confabs are worthwhile, to get the industry together and talking about ideas like this. And Corey Johnson in his keynote mentioned also kind of what we've alluded to, got to spend some marketing dollars. It's easy to do it.
Yeah, and he's talking about the horsemen stepping up, that maybe the marketing dollars is not just a matter of dollars, though with some of the tracks it is, but it's a matter of getting somebody knowledgeable. That was his point. The horsemen could have volunteers, that could be involved with some of the stuff. And I thought that was a great point, a real collaboration.
As I say, it's great to have these discussions and get everybody thinking in a direction to make the industry more popular. That's, the rising tide lifts all boats, so it's good for the horsemen, the tracks, the owners, the ADWs, and everybody. And it sounds like, again, that the kind of overarching theme was cooperation. So we'll hope that we'll root for the industry to delve into these topics a little more. But Jenny, you did a great job covering. And I will say, reinventing yourself, I see more of Jenny Reese now than I saw when you were at the Courier Journal. And it seems like you're traveling around more, so you're doing a great job with the reinvention.
Well, thanks. It's funny. I'm still working on my taxes, and I think I had 13 different 1099s, just the ones that 1099 to me. So, yeah, but I've got a great group of core clients, that Kentucky National HBTA being two of them, Ellis Park, Kentucky Downs, Indiana Grand, Oaklawn Park, which I'm going to next for the Rebels. Really, really,
Nice.
Great. I'm really, really enjoying my new professional life.
Okay, Jenny, where did you? I used to read it, and where did you go to college?
Indiana University.
Is Tom Crean going to keep his job? I thought that was the answer.
Grew up in Lexington, went to Indiana, and I'm a U of L Cardinal fan, although I do like the Wildcats.
Wow, that's a triangle.
That makes me not a real fan, I'm told. So.
Oh! It's hard to explain, is all I would say. It's hard to explain.
Right.
Jenny, got to move on, but obviously we appreciate the visit. Always enjoy talking to you. And again, folks can look online, find your coverage of the convention over the past week. Travel safe, and we'll talk again.
Sounds great. Happy handicapping.
All right, Jenny Reese. Again, great coverage of that HBPA convention over the past week. A lot of interesting topics discussed. All right, speaking of interesting topics, this past week, the nominations for the 2017 class at the Hall of Fame came out. I talked a little bit about it earlier this week. To me, there's a handful that stand out.
You have a vote, right?
I do have a vote. I'll list the 11 that got selected as finalists.
Jeez.
Robbie Alvarado, Javier Castellano, Victor Espinoza, Garrett Gomez, Craig Perret, trainers Mark Cassidy, John Sheriffs, David Whiteley, and racehorses Giovanni Goldacova and Kona Gold. And I mentioned among the names that are in for the first time, Castellano, Mark Cassidy, and Goldacova. They kind of seem to stand out to me. Obviously these names will all be announced. The winners on Friday, August 4th. We'll see them. The trophies handed out.
Usually Derby week, right?
They're announced Monday, April 24th. So leading
Derby week.
Yeah, and it's a maximum of 4 candidates. They have to receive, however, 50.1%. But it's a maximum of 4. It can be any combination of those. Doesn't have to be separated into people or horses or whatnot. But I said, boy, Castellano won the Eclipse 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. Well over 4,600 career wins. He has 10 riding titles in New York, 5 at Gulfstream, a couple at Keeneland. Cassie with over 2,000 wins. Currently Tepin and Classic Empire in his barn. He seems to stand out. He was inducted in the Canadian Hall of Fame last year. And I said earlier this week, I'm not big on Eclipse winners being Europeans. Come over one big race and they win an Eclipse award. And that would hold true also for the Hall of Fame. But boy, you look at Goldacova, she just obviously overcomes that, having won 3 Breeders' Cup miles. I mean, she made those invasions into the country and then was gone back to Europe, the majority of the career over in Europe. But you win 3 straight Breeders' Cup miles. That's enough for me. So those 3 to me stand out this year.
So for
and
you,
maybe Victor Espinoza.
So for you, her Hall of Fame is a 4-race career.
Well, you factor in the rest, but I could make a case for the 4-race career. If that was if that was the only 4 races some horse made, that would.
How many Eclipse awards does Gio Ponte have?
I don't. What is the total on Gio
I think
Ponte?
3.
Well,
he is not a Hall of Famer. Ain't even close. Having watched it, he is. I'll put it to you this way: up there, it would have been an easy vote. I could have. There were 3 jockeys that are not Hall of Famers, so that would whittle it down for me. And I've always said this, and this has been going on since the Eclipse Awards. Sprinters have never got their just desserts.
Yeah.
Kona Gold was the best sprinter of the
Gold, yeah.
decade. I've said this before many times. Take a look at his first 25 career starts. The nature of grade 1 status. And this is what I talked, Seth, about, what was it last week? We had a grade 3, and I was just saying he's in the race. That's a grade 1. Kona Gold, like people, I know it's going to come out. They're going to say the limited number of grade 1 races he's won. I go, well, what was his opportunity?
Yeah, how many
opportunity? He was the best sprinter of a decade. I used to say this about baseball players. And Jim Rice, who got in, if you're the best over 10 years, that makes you a Hall of Famer. And but Gio Ponte is and I think Goldacova will get it, like the Mieska and everything. I think it works. I think that works hand in hand, Seth. I think the people that think the 1 race Eclipse Award gets you an American Hall of Fame on 2 or 3 races. I honestly believe that, because Mieska was 2 for 2. She's a Hall of Famer. Goldacova is going to be the horse that gets in, by the way.
And again,
Kona Gold is not getting in, by the way.
No, I think the 4 that I named, again, Victor Espinoza.
Well, here's my question about Victor Espinoza, who should not be. How can Calvin Burrell be in before Victor Espinoza, who has far more classic victories, has competed at a far more difficult circuit for his career than Calvin Burrell?
And I think Victor Espinoza, California Chrome and American Pharoah, kind of dragged
War
him
emblem?
And yeah, I mean, it's just so. But the 3 I mentioned that are first-timers this year, Castellano, Cassie, and Goldacova, to me, kind of jump out, and then Victor Espinoza. So we'll see. We'll know.
What is it, 7-3?
April 24th.
Classic wins, Espinoza over Burrell?
I don't know.
That's not too good.
Yeah. All right,
For Calvin.
But yeah, it was derbies, and derbies are they're the gold.
You would
standard
think the
in-
Hall
in
of Fame
American-
voters watch more than one race a year.
It is what it is as far as American racing, so I think everybody kind of elevates it right or wrong. But all right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the 3-year-old action from yesterday. Coming up a little bit later on, John White. We'll talk some of the Santa Anita Stakes action as well with him coming up. All of that right after this. Stay with us.
So she's working for Kentucky Downs?
Yes.
And they're off on the OTB TV network.
I need to get out of here before someone else comes to stop me.
Is your favorite track in New York City, but you live upstate? At Capital OTB, Aqueduct and Belmont Park are closer than you think. With more than 60 easy bed and branch locations throughout the region, you're just a short drive from dozens of tracks across the country and around the world. For a complete list of all easy bed and branch locations, visit CapitalOTB.com. Capital OTB, we're closer than you think.
Championship horse racing continues at Capital OTB. There's no better place to watch, wager, and win than OTB TV and CapitalOTBBet.com.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. CapitalOTB.com offers live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, and a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform. And best of all, you get track prices. Going on now, it's Bet 50, Get 50. Simply open a Capital Bets account, bet $50, and get $50 cash back. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Not at the track and not near a computer? No problem. Wager with Capital OTB's Touch-Tone wagering system and you'll never get shut out again. Capital OTB's Touch-Tone wagering system is quick, simple to use, and guarantees your wagers are accurate and placed on time. For more information, visit CapitalOTB.com or call Capital OTB's customer service hotline at 800-292-BETS. Capital OTB's Touch-Tone wagering system. Never get shut out again.
Welcome back to And They're Off. Seth Merrill and Anthony Mormino here in the studio. Some nice 3-year-old action yesterday. Again, we're at the 50-point level for Kentucky Derby prep races, which means winners are guaranteeing themselves a spot. And I thought in Tampa, I was impressed yesterday, and I thought Tapwrit can be a player now. I mean, this clearly, being a lightly raced Todd Pletcher runner, came in with 4 career starts prior to this. Ran second to McCracken last time in the Sam Davis, but did so with a pretty nicely improved effort number-wise, and then improved again a little bit yesterday. Tapwrit's the number 5 horse. I thought State of Honor did very well, holding on for second at 9-1, and Wild Shot finishes third. No Dozing, the 4th place finisher, I thought was okay after having run the dud in the Sam Davis, and the Remsen turning out to be not much. But boy, I thought Tapwrit, winning by a chart margin of 4.5 at even money, a 96 buyer figure. I thought he was pretty impressive, and as I say, to me, he now becomes a player on the Derby Trail.
I don't know what to make of the dirt races at Tampa yesterday. It seems to me that the old days of Turfway Park on Jim Beam Day, Stanford looked like King Kong yesterday. I'm pretty sure he's not King Kong.
But he could have looked like King Kong just because of the field.
The field was terrible.
Yeah.
And let's say this. And I got to tell you something, especially about the turf racing. The trainers are these turf races at Tampa Bay are going to go up in graded status. Todd Pletcher was ahead of the curve about sending his horses over there. We've seen a couple of Todd Pletcher runners run huge in the Tampa Bay Derby, and not so much after that. So I'm I thought it was a great day of racing at Tampa Bay. It really had the feel of a big day at a racetrack with the turf racing and the two dirt races, the Challenger that Stanford won and this one. But I'm holding judgment because I've seen this play before.
And I'm in the same ballpark. I did put him on my top five. My top five this week. I have Gunnevera, one-liner, Gervin. I moved Tapwrit in at number 4, moved McCracken down to number 5, and obviously Mastery went off the list despite the big performance. The ding takes him clearly off the Derby trail, perhaps career-ending. I don't think they know for sure one way or the other with Mastery. Otherwise, he would have jumped way up the list. But I'm with you. So I have a couple of Pletchers. I have one-liner and Tapwrit. It was just such a good performance, and if there wasn't any other direction for me to feel confident with necessarily. Otherwise, I had to put him up there. So again, I have Tapwrit on, but with the kind of the reservations you mentioned there.
Right. I mean, and now here's the question that I have is, with the calendar, that's it, right? The Tampa Bay Derby, right?
You would think
go,
that would, yeah.
You get the 50 points.
Particularly when it's Todd Pletcher.
Right. With his history has shown us, with the revamping a couple years ago, that 50 points will get you in. And with the Todd Pletcher and with the calendar saying 2017, he's off. He's training up to the Kentucky Derby. There'll be no April race. Heck, we're not even into the second half of March. And my fear is that this is going to be even more exacerbated about this. I can see the Florida Derby moving up to about March 24th, and that's it. That these April races are in a lot of trouble from these big-time outfits. So I thought, Mastery looked good yesterday, and I felt badly that Iliad hung because I thought that's what he did. But he came out of a big effort in the San Vicente, so I'm hoping it's not a two-turn thing and that it was a little regression moving forward. I've said to people this week, I did the Happy Hour bankroll, Seth is sitting in a very enviable position with Gunnevera because his loss to Irish War Cry was a good loss, and then it was just dynamic coming out of that. I mean, it's almost like, Seth, you're almost like, man, how much better it's like, it's unfortunately, you're at the place you want to get to already, and now you got to sit around and wait. So Gunnevera is going to be heck to pay going forward. But as I said, but I guess at the end of the day, I'm biased. I'm probably going to go against what happened at the Tampa Bay Derby based on historically what has happened coming out of the Tampa Bay Derby, except, of course, the year that, Carl Nasker had street sense and he had the 2-race campaign. So right now, I'm like, yes, it was a great day in horse racing. The San Felipe was disappointing as you wake up to do a Sunday morning horse racing show. Why? Well, because the horse that did look real good, and I said as he was going under the line, I was like, what's my luck? I'm on track watching him what is his worst career race, so I have a bias against him because he looked good yesterday. My horse and Brian Netto's horse hung like a chandelier, so that wasn't too good. So I'm going to play it as it lies. And I will also say this. In this era, Seth, when they used to run about once a month, all these, boy, I got to tell you, I like where J-Boy's Echo is on multiple fronts. First off, he's a mine shaft. Secondly, I think his timing is going to be better for me. My comfort zone will be better. And that he's going the right direction in very capable hands with Dale Romans going forward. I clearly have a hesitation. Jay Pribman tweeted that McCracken worked out. Well, that's good, but it wasn't a scintillating workout, so we'll see. And looking at Lee, has the race coming up in Arkansas, so we'll see. But I say, Pat, I do like J-Boy's Echo. To me, is really in a garden spot for me. I'm very good for him going forward.
All right, little handicapping before we take our next break. You selected the race of the day this week, and again, every day we do a race of the day where we both look at the same race, and a play of the day where we actually come up with a wager looking at different races. But the race of the day you picked this week, the 13th at Gulfstream. I will say Dick Powell said there's potentially some rain, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. This allowance non-winners of 3 lifetime stays on the grass. If so, I have it 7, 2, 8, and 1 at your selections
Are not
no,
close.
there we go.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, mine are up now.
'Cause I'm inside.
We'll go with that. I have it 7, 2, 8, and 1. Kitsy's Rocket 4. And I will say, Dick Powell, his best bet when we talked to him earlier on the Handicappers Board, he had 5 Elegant Supermodel as a best bet. I don't have that one in my mix at all, which made me a little nervous. But Kitsy's Rocket on top for me. The question mark is the readiness, obviously, for the Barclay Tag Runner. I think you look at the races most recently run, which were last summer, they fit really well with this bunch, but hasn't been seen since early in September. However, I go back to that February 27th workout. That bullet to me says probably ready first time out of the box. We'll see. So I put Kitsy's Rocket on top. Salty Breeze, I like the move to Castellano off a pretty good number last time. And Dad's Princess, I have to think is better than the last, and I think we get a little bit of a jockey upgrade with Luis Saez. So for me in the 13th at Gulfstream, 7, 2, 8, and 1.
I like this. I chose it as the race of the day versus the play of the day because I thought it was extremely competitive. A, and B, Sharp Kitty to me, this is a very tough race because it's deep, 5, 6 deep. But Sharp Kitty, I get down inside. Amy Tarrant is, I think, prepped this horse off the June 11th. I think the Swanee River was practice, and it's a type of practice that I like better than workouts, etc. Run well, get tired, run worse at the end, get beat, and then tighten you up for the spot. She draws inside. So I'm all inside. 1, 2, 3. See if we get 4 to 1 on Castellano. But Sharp Kitty to me, in a deep race, which would have made it tough for a play of the day, but in a race of the day, get the ROI. I like Sharp Kitty in here. I thought that was, nothing more than a practice race in the Swanee River for this spot.
All right, the play of the day. I went with my play of the day that I had on the website. I like to get clever with the play and find something interesting.
Well, you're a clever guy.
But
you should try and get clever.
And for that this time of year, I like to look at maybe Tampa or Oaklawn.
The Big A?
Yeah, I just went with the one that I had on the website because Tampa, they were also looking at potentially some rain, and so I was dicey there, and I didn't see anything. So I just stuck with.
Shepherd had a horse at Gulfstream that I stayed away from the race of the day because I thought you would be like. The child to the light and just go for Shepherd. I wanted you to work a little.
I did that last week, and it didn't work out. Yeah. So,
I liked him
9th at Aqueduct today. I'm 4 deep with the exact. On the morning line, it's borderline. Take a look at the probable pays and see if it makes sense. But on the morning line, it's just going to, I think, make some sense. I have it 1, 8, 2, and 5. If one of those scratches, pull the 7 in. But Aix-en-Provence in some good form. Northern Screamer was just behind that one last time. And I think Julie D with the early speed and getting back to a nice price. So I could make the case for just going 3 deep, which may be more logical, again, if you look at the probable pace. But I'll call it 4 deep in here. 1, 8, 2, and 5, exact the box, race 9 at Aqueduct.
The race before the race today is my play of the day, and I don't think the morning line odds person, I hope the morning line odds person has it right, because I think I have 2 of the 3 main dangers, and they're 10 to 1 and 6 to 1. That's race 12 at Gulfstream Park. The 3 and the 4 in an exacta box to me. Spiteful Song is double digits on the morning line for Ian Wilkes, making the 3rd start off a layoff after a good comeback to the races, going 7/8 through the trees at Tampa. Then tried turf. Now gets back to 7/8 at Gulfstream Park. That's 10 to 1 on the morning line. I know Joe Bravo has struggled at this meet. And then how about number 4, Promote, for Mr. McGahee, making the 3rd career start, first one since July. Shug's Runner won the career debut, and Offspring of Blaine, that one going 6 in the debut. I'm a 3-4 exact in Gulfstream's 12th.
All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, we'll shift our attention to Santa Anita yesterday. Nice stakes card. We'll hit on those with John White right after this.
You're watching And They're Off on the OTB TV network.
Only somebody with perfect comedic timing could produce this much energy in one shot.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit RTN.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Not at the track and not near a computer? No problem. Wager with Capital OTB's Touchtone Wagering System and you'll never get shut out again. Capital OTB's Touchtone Wagering System is quick, simple to use, and guarantees your wagers are accurate and placed on time. For more information, visit CapitalOTB.com or call Capital OTB's customer service hotline at 800-292-BETS. Capital OTB's Touchtone Wagering System. Never get shut out again. In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Welcome back to And They're Off. Happy to be joined now. Always happy to talk to John White from Santa Anita. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Nice day yesterday. We'll hit on all of those stakes races and get some opinions. But before we do, just set the scene. Big day, as it always is, out at Santa Anita. Big Cap Day. Did you have a good crowd?
Yes, indeed. And the most important thing is, for a change at this particular Santa Anita meet, we had good weather for a big day. We've been just blasted by the rain this winter in Southern California, and it was just gorgeous yesterday. Temperature in the 80s and ideal racing conditions.
That's what we like to hear. And let's turn now to some of that action. The Big Cap, again, annually one of the big races on the Southern California schedule, and historically a big race nationwide. And those of us over in this section of the country rooting yesterday for Jimmy Jerkins. I saw Jimmy was actually out there with Shaman Ghost. Shaman Ghost, boy, this is a nice horse Jimmy has now. Last time out, ran second behind Arrogate in the Pegasus. No shame there, but follows that up. And I will say, as we watch in mid-stretch, Shaman Ghost is the number 3 horse. Midnight Storm, and they were pretty close in the wagering. As you see there, 6-5 and 7-5. Midnight Storm takes them all the way around, and by mid-stretch, I thought Midnight Storm was going to hold off Shaman Ghost. It looked to me like Shaman Ghost went a little flat, but then all of a sudden in the last 8th, he hits another gear, and a nice win by Shaman Ghost. What were your impressions in the Big Cap?
Well, as you mentioned, Shaman Ghost responded nicely toward the end. He had drifted out a bit and then drifted back in. But I think the key to the race was the fact that Midnight Storm did not quite get the mile and a quarter. That was the question mark for him going into the race. And he got a 107 Beyer speed figure, which is the biggest Beyer on the dirt for Midnight Storm in his career. So he ran a very good race. He just could not quite get the mile and a quarter against a really top horse like Shaman Ghost. And you mentioned Arrogate. I mean, this is a performance that, again, really makes us realize just how extraordinary Arrogate is, because Arrogate absolutely creamed Shaman Ghost in the Pegasus World Cup. And so when you take a horse like Shaman Ghost, who is absolutely no match for Arrogate in that race at Gulfstream, and then he can come right back and win a race as prestigious and as important as the Santa Anita Handicap, it really flatters Arrogate.
And I will say that there was a disappointment in the race, I thought. Imperative running last in the field at 9. Went off at 9-1, so, in that field was the second choice, given the short prices on the top 2. But, boy, to run last in the field at 9, as I say, that was the disappointment in the field.
Well, it really was. I mean, yes, not too many people really expecting him to win, but he was the only other horse that was under 10-1, actually under 17-1. Yeah. In the race, besides the big 2, so that it was a very. But Imperative's been kind of a quirky horse his whole career. I mean, other than being an absolute superstar at Charlestown, he's kind of an in and outer. He'll pop up with a good race and then run disappointing races, and that's just been kind of the Imperative, really, the way he does it throughout his entire career.
But again, nice performance in the big cap by Shaman Ghost and Jimmy Jerkins with a nice one there. Let's shift now to the San Felipe, which was a little bit earlier on the card. And I said it earlier, John, boy, you talk about the highs and lows of horse racing. We saw it in about a 3-hour period out in Southern California. Well, watch the stretch run, and Mastery gets it done in the comeback race. Hadn't been seen since early in December, winning the Los Al Futurity for Bob Baffert. Comes back in the first start as a 3-year-old and wins by a chart margin of 6 3/4. Mastery, the number 4 horse. Iliad's the number 6. Term of Art, the number 1. Mastery comes up with a 105 buyer, which again at this point in the 3-year-old season is very, very good. And then 3 hours later, he's off the Derby trail with a fracture. It's just, as I say, you saw the highs and lows of the sports in less than 3 hours.
Well, really, about 10 seconds after he passed the finish line, he was off the Kentucky Derby trail, really, unless he was going to get lucky, because
right there.
When Mike Smith got off him shortly after the finish, my jaw dropped. And one of the reasons for that is there are certain jockeys that, boy, when they feel something is amiss, it's a 99.9% chance there's something amiss. Jockeys like a Chris McCarron with that kind of experience, or a Mike Smith with that kind of experience. So that just made me think, uh-oh, and it was a definite uh-oh, as he came out of the race with a condylar fracture in the left front leg. And it's just so sad. Like you say, a 105 buyer, and that was kind of one of the knocks on Mastery going into the race. He had only had a 93 for his top buyer, and that was in his career debut, but he'd been so dominant in his races. But you never know with a horse, whether they can step it up, in the speed figure department. Well, he did big time, and it's just so sad. I mean, it's one of the quirkiest Derby trails I've ever seen in my life, when you realize that we had Classic Empire, and he ends up popping an abscess, and so he had a setback. And then we had McCracken, who was undefeated and wins the Sam F. Davis, and he ends up getting a filling in a leg. Now, very importantly, McCracken had a workout yesterday, so that was huge for McCracken, and is very encouraging for that guy who really, has to be considered very likely the Kentucky Derby favorite at this time when you get down to it. But he had a 4-furlong workout at Palm Meadows. And how about Go Sapper? Go Sapper is the sire of McCracken, and Go Sapper is the sire of Shaman Ghost. So how about Go Sapper? What a year he's having, huh?
Absolutely. And Iliad, right? I mean, I know Iliad hung yesterday in the lane, but I think Iliad is it also. John, I was at Del Mar, the Bob Hope Day, and up until the finish line yesterday, boy, Mastery looked like a completely different runner.
Well, I mean, this performance yesterday, because at the quarter pole, you had the big three, and any one of the big three could win it. The big three were Mastery, Iliad, and Gormley. And the first to crack was Gormley, as he dropped out of it. And Iliad really ran a good race here in defeat. But again, I think it does point out maybe going further than 7 furlongs might not be ideal for Iliad. He might be best as a one-turn horse. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if you take Mastery out of the race, Iliad wins the race and wins it impressively. So you don't want to be too harsh on Iliad for losing, and he got a 95 buyer even in defeat. So it was a good effort by Iliad, and he's a very nice colt. But Mastery just, won with such authority in this race and did it so easily. The minute he hit the finish line, the instant he hit the finish line, I thought, well, we certainly know who really is the Derby favorite at this time. And as I say, about 10 seconds later, maybe even a bit less,
Mike Smith's jumping off.
I thought, the minute we saw Mike Smith get off that horse, boy, it's just, it's such a shame.
Yeah, it was a 105 buyer, as they say. I also read Timeform gave him a 127, which they described as the highest Derby prep Timeform number they've had in the past few years. Wow. Was there a buzz did people realize? Was there a buzz around the plant when Mike Smith jumped off? Did people realize what had happened?
No, I don't think, because something like that often happens. And Bob Baffert didn't even realize it at first till as he was making his way to the winner's circle, somebody mentioned to Baffert they said, I hope your horse is all right. So, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, it kind of happens, it's not prominent to most of the people in attendance.
Okay, John, quick question. I've been watching the Triple Bend since Rich Cream. Have you ever seen a jockey more excited to win the Triple Bend?
Well, that's a good point. And I'll tell you what, that Rich Cream was one heck of a sprinter, that is for sure. Boy, he was fast. But, this was quite a performance here, no question about it. So, and it was a really good ride by Tyler Bays as well. I mean, he saved ground and took on Masochistic big time coming into the stretch. And because Mike Smith was riding Masochistic, I really kind of thought Masochistic had plenty left in the tank and would probably win. Well, that wasn't the case. Denman's Call won the race. Denman's Call looked like he had a big future early in his career when he finished third behind Nyquist at Exaggerator in the San Vicente. And, of course, Nyquist would go on to win the Kentucky Derby. Exaggerator would go on to win the Preakness. But Denman's Call, he didn't go on to win anything. I mean, he just kind of struggled time after time until this Triple Bend. So it was a big effort, a career-best 104 buyer for him, and really a disappointment for Masochistic. I was looking at Masochistic. This is the first time since he left the maiden ranks that Masochistic has ever gone the half in 45 or 45 and change and been beaten in a sprint race. The first time in his career.
Well, I'll say this: Masochistic did not look to, and Mike Smith did not look to be interested in shutting down the hole that Denman's Call ran through. Quick note on the Kilroe Mile: We Back East would be shocked to find Javier Castellano on the longest shot on the board, winning a turf race.
Well, Balabally's form coming into the race was anything but terrific. Here's another one who early in his career was an absolute superstar in Brazil. He was a Triple Crown winner, and it looked like he was going to be maybe a superstar in the United States when he won the American at Santa Anita in his first United States start. And then, kind of like Denman's Call, he just was a disappointment. He would only win an allowance optional claiming race at Del Mar, but when he was running in the stakes races, the graded stakes races, he kept getting beat time after time after time. Here he was coming off a layoff against a very good field that included two former Kilroe Mile winners in What a View and Ring Weekend. And this was just a terrific ride by Javier Castellano. Shows you why he's a four-time Eclipse Award-winning jockey. But also, it's another demonstration of the great training ability of the Hall of Famer and Richard Mandella. To have this 7-year-old prime for such a big effort to win a Grade 1 race off the layoff.
Has the turf career of Dortmund come to an end?
I would say yes.
Experiment failed, as it were. But, that was certainly an intriguing part of that race as well. John, we got to go, but before we do, I just wanted to, we'll pull up the stretch run from last weekend because I wanted some comments. I don't think she was necessarily as impressive as she's been in the past, but again, Unique Bella adds another win to her resume, and regardless of how impressive or not impressive she was, comparatively speaking, I still think she has a stranglehold on this 3-year-old filly class in a way that no 3-year-old male has done this year.
Well, she was flattered yesterday when It Tiswell won the Grade 3 Honeybee at Oaklawn, and It Tiswell was absolutely annihilated by Unique Bella in the Santa Ynez in January. So once again, we're seeing these fillies that finish behind Unique Bella going when they can escape Unique Bella, they're able to succeed. And you say that you feel that Unique Bella wasn't all that impressive. Well, in a way, I think she might have been more impressive in this race. The reason being it was the first time all did not go smoothly for her. A lot was made of her start. I think that was overblown. I mean, it wasn't, a terrible start. She broke just okay. But the thing was that she got a little rank, had to split horses going into the clubhouse turn, and she got a big scare in this race by Abel Tasman, who unfortunately was racing under the wrong silks, which led to her being transferred to the Bob Baffert barn from Simon Callahan, which is one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen in the history of thoroughbred racing. Those owners should be ashamed of themselves if indeed that is the only reason that they transferred that filly to Bob Baffert. It's just absolutely mind-boggling they would do that. But this race really for Unique Bella, because when Mike Smith had to ask her really for the first time since her maiden defeat in a race for any kind of run, she had plenty of run.
Yes.
And so in a way, I kind of think it was an impressive performance because she did show that she doesn't have to have everything go her own way to win a race.
And as I say, regardless of what you thought of the performance, she is clearly the head of that class. The 3-year-old males have just not defined themselves, but she's the one they're chasing as we head to the Kentucky Oaks. John, we got to go, but always appreciate the conversation, and we'll talk again.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
John White from Santa Anita. We'll head to our last break. We'll go away for a couple of minutes, come back, and wrap things up on this edition of And They're Off. Stay tuned.
You're watching And They're Off on the OTB TV network.
I'm sorry that people are so jealous of me, but I can't help it that I'm popular.
This is unbelievable! Zenyatta! What a performance! One we'll never forget. Looked impossible, but it is Zenyatta, still unbeaten under Mike Smith.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. CapitalOTB.com offers live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, and a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform. And best of all, you get track prices. Going on now, it's Bet 50, Get 50. Simply open a Capital Bets account, bet $50, and get $50 cash back. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today. Face it, most horse racing websites are just too much clutter, too much to navigate through. Next time, log on to CapitalOTB.com. Our newly designed website is easier than ever to use, with all the information the professional horse player needs. CapitalOTB.com.
Championship horse racing continues at Capital OTB. There's no better place to watch, wager, and win than OTB TV and CapitalOTBBet.com.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
With more than 60 Easy Bet and branch locations throughout the region, you're just a short drive from all the top tracks across the country and around the world. For a complete list of all Easy Bet and branch locations, visit CapitalOTB.com. Capital OTB. We're closer than you think.
Welcome back. Let's jump right back in and take a look at the aforementioned Honeybee, and we'll talk some 3-year-old fillies here for a second, because can somebody challenge Unique Bella? Well, the winner of the Honeybee, pretty impressive, I thought, winner of the Honeybee is It Tiswell. Ships in from Southern California for Jerry Hollendorfer, but again, 2 starts back, well beaten, well behind Unique Bella. So can anybody challenge Unique Bella? Well, It Tiswell certainly looks like a player in the division now, but she was well beaten by the pro tem leader in the clubhouse. Benner Island, number 11, finishes second. Watch the number 2, however, Elate. The horse, lightly raced 3-year-old filly from Bill Mott, that I thought the late run from Elate, again, the number 2 horse will run third, was one to maybe have a little more confidence. Number 7, Tappa Tappa Tappa, to me, disappoints coming out of that win down at Tampa last time. But again, you see, Elate just get up. She was way back early. So I want to know what they're going to do. To me, it might make sense to reload with Elate and get her kind of a confidence builder. But I think she has maybe a little bit of a future in this division. I thought the winner looked good, but again, given what had happened previously, you can't say anybody from out of here is really going to challenge the leader at this point.
To be clear how I feel, Unique Bella is clearly better than Songbird.
Oh, well, that's...
As I told somebody on Friday, I mean, and I'll tell you what, if I could get Unique Bella in the test stakes for about $750,000 purse, I think she's incredible going one turn. But I think at this point in both of their careers, and I'm the guy who said that Songbird should have her Hall of Fame plaque made up early. This talent that Unique Bella possesses, to me, is that extra thing, Seth. You know, like you go in the Hall of Fame and you look at the plaques of the horses, and you know they deserve to be in there. Then you look at a certain group and you're like, there should be maybe a little section over here for them. They're just super Hall of Famers. She, I think, physically, talent is really in rarefied air for 3-year-old fillies.
And again, we will keep the fingers crossed because what they did with Songbird last year, we got to see her at Saratoga.
Twice.
That's
Twice.
3-year-old fillies.
No show wagering 2 times.
3-year-old fillies out in Southern California in summer. There's not too many opportunities.
You got to go to the turf at Del Mar.
It just makes sense.
Oh, it'd be great.
All right, let's move on. Jockey Club came out with a really positive press release this past week. Headline, Equine Injury Database, rate of fatal injuries declines for 4th consecutive year. And I think we have the chart up here. This is the number of fatalities per 1,000 starts. The numbers, according to the press release, have dipped 19% since 2009 on dirt. On turf, they dipped 44% since 2009, and you see a steady progression of a decline over the past few years as well, to the lowest number that you see over the past 7 or 8 years in 2016. And good news, you know, the critics of horse racing always say, you know, the game doesn't do enough to keep the horses safe, but I think they ignore what does happen. I mean, millions of dollars were spent on synthetic surfaces, for instance, to try to make these numbers better. That experiment didn't necessarily work, but clearly things are working.
It's always good. You see that number go down.
The Woodbine carryover last night, we had a bankroll. I did not use the winner. You could have made a case for the winner.
What was the pool?
It started out, the carryover was $578,000. They put about another $1.4 million in. And I said to Dick Powell, it was funny, they went to 0 minutes and they were in the paddock. They were in the paddock for about 20 minutes.
It was at 0, they're in the paddock?
Yeah. They just,
what time
because there they go out, they hit once they get on the track, it all happens pretty fast. But they were in the paddock for a long time, really making the most of it, which they did in the same situation in December. They pulled another $2 million in then. But it wound up to be a $40 winner on top, which, as I say, I had a $100 bankroll to play for folks. Coming on the far turn, as we see here.
11:10 at night.
I'm feeling pretty good about where I am. I have the horses. All my horses are kind of in the mix, but you can see there the one. And about halfway on the turn, I realized the one I don't have, and it's making a move. And when it's a super high 5, I'm feeling like I'm not going to get 4 horses to go by it. I just felt, and the one subsequently that I don't have goes on to win at 20-1. Again, a $43 winner. For 20 cents, $38,000 folks walked home with for 20 cents. So good job there for folks. And again, beyond the one, boy, it was a tight photo. If you had numbers in the mix, you were really waiting out this photo. There was a cavalry charge that kind of all came on the wire here. Bang, you see 3 of them right there and a 4th right in the mix as well. But again, I didn't have the one. I could see where people
Michael Jordan won. How does he lose?
Man, it was just the 1 and the 2 that ran 4th. They just seemed a little cheaper than this bunch. And I'll say it again. It was a tough race. They made it tough. It was 12 horses. It was a competitive field. And I got the chart here. The odds went from about 8-5, and the highest price on the board was 32-1. There's a bunch in the teens, just signifying it was kind of a well-matched bunch. There weren't any crazy horses, and I've said it before. I'd like to see a more logical race in these type of situations. To me, I'd rather see 1,000 people get $1,000 than 30 or 40 people get $40,000. I think it's better for the game, but that's not the way these tracks play. And I get it; they're trying to juice up.
But we also would say that's not the attraction to it.
But I think if you think about it, that might be the attraction. I think that might play better even PR-wise if a bunch of people are walking around going, you got to play this bet. I put in $50 and came up with 1,000 rather than 35 people who aren't necessarily going to get the word out. I think 1,000 people are walking around. But finally, pulled up a tweet from this past week from Amy Zimmerman, the television producer, horse racing television producer, works for NBC and some other spots. This was interesting. She linked to an article that's about 7 years old, but Viola Davis, the Academy Award winner this year, she had an article in, I think it's LA Magazine. If you go to Google, type in Viola Davis and Santa Anita. I tried it, and it'll come up first. It's an article that's about 7 years old, A Day at the Races with Viola Davis, and it's kind of interesting. They go out with her, and her dad was a groom at like Narragansett and some of those other Rhode Island tracks. And she said she used to go to the track with them and whatnot. So I found that a little bit intriguing as well. As I say, you can find the article if you type in her name and Santa Anita on Google. All right, anything else you want to add?
Told you my goal would be the tweet
of
the week.
There you go.
The tweet of the week.
There you go. Well, keep shooting.
Absolutely. I saw Brian Nadeau got on. He's followed me on Twitter now. I'm not so sure he knows how to open up Twitter, but he at least had a friend follow me on Twitter now.
He tweets out fairly regularly on the picks and plays that he puts out on Gulfstream. All right, we're going to wrap things up for this edition of In the Rough. Seth Merrill and Anthony Mormino. We are here every Sunday morning from 10 until 11 a.m. We want to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship of this program, some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here. Again, enjoy the races this afternoon. Let's all cash a few tickets. We'll see you back here next Sunday morning at 10 o'clock.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.